everyone, my name is Chelsea and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we have a book haul. So I have not hauled books since before we moved, like before we packed up for our move. So these books are going to cover May, or at least some of May. I think I hauled some things in May. May and June. June we also had a Stuff Your Kindle event. There was actually two of them that I got some books from. One was the Romance Bookworms, which does like the original Stuff Your Kindle, and then one was for like fantasy romance sort of titles. I do not know how many books I'm hauling today. I probably could count. I think I have like 18 physical books to haul, plus the ebooks that we're going to go through as well. So I guess we're going to get into it, otherwise this video is going to be quite long, but it has been a while since I've actually done a book haul. So let's start with the books that technically came in before I moved and I just never hauled. So one of the first things that came in right before I moved was actually a set of books. I left them in the book box that they came in because of the fact that we were moving and I didn't have to then take them out of the box and put them in a different box. I did check them out for the quality and everything just to make sure there weren't like really crazy dents or anything like that, but it is the Bergman Brothers series by Chloe Leese, and this is from the Afterlight set. I think Illumicrate is now separating the Illumicrate special editions and the Afterlight special editions. This is the Afterlight special editions. These are romances, a set of companion romances where I think every single book follows somebody from the Bergman family. It is the Bergman Brothers series, but I'm pretty sure at least one of the characters here is a sister. There might be a couple, I don't fully remember. And it makes this really pretty like Bergman title at the top, and then if you flip them around it'll make a picture, and you do have to flip each individual book because if you just flipped this around it would be in the completely wrong order. So that picture would look like this. I think they are absolutely gorgeous. I love that you can do either side, like the edges or the actual spines of the books, and the covers I really like as well. These are the Lenny Kaufman covers. I absolutely love her as an illustrator. Like if she illustrates a book cover, I am more likely to want to pick it up just because I think they're gorgeous. I have read Only When It's Us, which is the first book in this series. I have not read any of the other ones. I want to say when I first read this one, I actually read it as an ARC, back when it was an indie published book as well, and I gave it like a 3.5. I think part of it was just like some of the characterization and stuff. I know that she put a new version out, I think after I had originally read it, with some updated stuff in there, especially about the disability. One of the things that I really like about this author, even though I haven't read anything else more, but I want to, is the fact that a lot of her books have characters with some sort of disability. She is also an actually autistic author as well, and so I think at least one of the characters in this series also does deal with having autism in the romance, and so I'm just like, I need to reread this first one, especially with the new updates. I love the underneath the dust jacket part, and then get into the rest of them, especially because I think, I could be mistaken, this was like her first book, or at least the first time people really started taking notice of this author, and she's just been making more and more books, and so like I'm hoping for an improvement in writing style and characters and like story and things like that. And so yeah, when I saw these I just couldn't pass them up. And we also have like end papers. Like these are gorgeous editions. Besides that, I don't know much else about them. I do believe we do have lots of sports and stuff. Like this one obviously has a soccer ball on it. This one is hockey. And so yeah, I think we'll just quickly go through the under the dust jacket stuff, the end paper stuff, so you guys can see. Oh, book 2 was Always Only You. Number 3 is Ever After Always. Don't see any sports on that cover, but that's fine. Especially since if you get to the end papers, they're playing Twister, which is adorable. Book 4 is With You Forever. Book 5 is Everything for You. Book 6 is If Only You. And book 7 is Only and Forever. So those are things that definitely came in before I moved. Oh, I forgot, it did also come with an author letter with this really cute like art print as well. I think this is adorable because everybody is interconnected in these stories. Then I also had 2 pre-orders that technically came in right before I moved. One is Looking for Love in All the Haunted Places by Claire Kahn. This is a paranormal romance story. I think it's about somebody that goes to like a haunted house and the house keeps kicking people out and they try and figure out what's going on, but it is a romance. I definitely wanted to read this, so that's why I pre-ordered it, so I do have that now. And then I also have The Last Murder at the End of the World by Stuart Turton. This is gorgeous. This is also the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition, I think, which gives us partly the orange edges, and then there might be some other things in here as well. It's a bright yellow under the dust jacket, and I do love the fact that we have some sort of like map on our end papers. This is about like an island where they are like the only people surviving the end of the world. I think they're maybe in some sort of dome. There's scientists there that are like helping them out. And then there is a murder that happens at this like last place at the end of the world sort of situation. And because of this murder, they need to figure out what happened, or the dome is like gonna come down, or you know, somehow they're gonna be exposed to whatever happened to the rest of the world. And so I'm very, very curious about this. And so obviously I picked it up. Then I also ended up going to the used bookstore to drop off some books there, and it went very well. I actually got rid of every single book that I unhauled, minus a couple of things that were spoken for already, except for one. They took everything that I wanted to unhaul except for one. Got like $95 out of it. That was not store credit, actual dollars. But while I was there, I had store credit that I needed to try to use up if possible. I got the kids a couple things, but I also ended up getting me a book. I got Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mayer. This is another sort of like fantasy romance, super villain romance, but I've heard it's humorous and some people love it, some people hate it. I got it for like $10 because of the fact that it was used. So yeah, I have that as well now. Then I actually had a pre-order that got shipped out right before I moved. It actually did get delivered to the house like after I was already here, but before my husband actually left, so he got it for me from the post. And it is Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young. This is something that I have been very interested in since it was originally indie published, but again, Lenny Kaufman cover. I waited for this one to come out once I saw that this was going to happen. This is another romance that does have disability rep in it. Obviously we have somebody who has a prosthetic limb, and I've heard really, really good things about this author from like people that I share romance tastes with, and so again I had to pick it up. And I got that right before we moved. Then I also had some more pre-orders come in after I moved, and so the first one I have here is Horror Movie by Paul Tremblay. This is again the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition, so we have red edges there. And I don't know how much other stuff we have in the book, but like the end papers look like notes on like a screenplay sort of thing, which I absolutely love because I do believe this is a little bit mixed media, which is something that I really enjoy. So I really want to read this one. It is obviously going to be horror and have some of that screenplay mixed media elements in it. I also then have Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. This is another Barnes & Noble exclusive edition. This one comes with additional content, apparently. Includes special content. No idea what that special content is. It could be like an interview with the author. I don't know, but usually Barnes & Noble exclusive editions aren't too much more expensive. They usually are still included on the like special sales that they have, if they have any like discounts for pre-orders, which is usually why I have a bunch of pre-orders. I get them when it's like 25% off, and then I have a membership. And this is the newest Riley Sager. Do I really know what this is about? No, because I actually have been reading like all the Riley Sagers, except for I haven't finished the last couple. The last couple ones are over here somewhere, actually. But I think this is his first book that has a male protagonist, which is going to be very intriguing. And it's something about when he was a boy, his best friend disappeared in the middle of the night when they were like backyard camping. And now he moves back to town and maybe sees him again or something. I don't know. I'm very, very curious. Another pre-order we have here is Hearts That Cut by Kika Hatzopoulou. This is a YA duology, and this is going to be the finale for Threads That Bind. I absolutely loved Threads That Bind last year. It was like one of my top books of the year, 5 out of 5 stars. It ends sort of on a cliffhanger, so like that's why I needed this one. I definitely pre-ordered it. But it is a YA fantasy that is inspired by like Greek mythology. Our main character is one of the 3 fates. So like her and her sisters each have a different fate's power that deals with like the threads of life and all that kind of stuff. It does have a mystery, sort of murder mystery almost, at the center of it. And like I said, it ended on a cliffhanger for the first one. I needed to read this one. I needed to pick it up. I have not read it yet, but like this one is a recent release. Then I did have one book box come in while we were moving, and it was the Rainbow Crate for May. I think it was for May. We moved in June and it was just like, they're always a little bit back. So we have Flawless Girls by Anna Marie McLemore. This is their cover for it. This is the traditionally published one, so they always have their cover plus the original one. And I was very intrigued by this one because it's like about a finishing school for rich girls, but like they go there and mysterious things happen. I don't know a ton about these ones, and so one thing that I love is they have the nutrition facts here that gives us a small snippet into the book, and that's what I'm going to read for you right now. So for this book here, we have representation, intersex, Latina, and sapphic. Genre is young adult horror. For plot, we have sinister finishing school, dismantle the patriarchy, pretty dresses, molten gold and jewels. Demographics are 15 adult and 100 young adults, so it's 100% young adult, but it looks like a small crossover appeal for adults, so maybe it has some like darker topics and stuff. I mean, it is young adult horror, and point of view is third person close. Then Rainbow Crate also has an indie book, and this one we have is Earthflown by Frances Wren, illustrated by Litarnus. I hope I'm saying that at least close to correct. So apparently this is a book that has illustrations and everything in it, which is very, very intriguing. And again, I don't know much about this at all. Our theme actually for this one was Liar Liar. I forgot I had that. So apparently we were having some like morally gray characters or narrators that are a little bit unreliable. So again, this is going to be a very, very pretty book. This is one that they actually do like bind themselves. So underneath the dust jacket is this. Again, just going to be gorgeous. Here are some end papers. I really love the really shiny gold foiling on the edges. We have like a couple pills there, and what is this, a scalpel? No, I think a needle, like a syringe, but it is capped. And then there's the scalpel. I knew I wasn't wrong about that. There's one there. And so yeah, this is gonna be some sort of like future Earth dystopian, I think, sort of situation. So let's see here. Representation, we have gay, ace, and Southeast Asian and Maori. It is gonna be sci-fi, fantasy, romance. Plot, inconvenient love, found family and platonic intimacy, collusion and journalism, corruption arcs, banality of magic. One thing that I have not seen before, but we have it here, it has allergens, so it contains traces of bigotry, gaslighting, and violence. That's like more of their content warning section. They do usually have actual like more content warnings and stuff on their card, but I love that they had it on the dust jacket here. And then demographics, it is 100% adult, although it does say it is suitable for new adults, which is intriguing. And then point of view, third person close with a tri point of view. So yeah, again, very, very curious about this one. And this is the indie book. Then I had a Kickstarter that I helped fund last year, and it came in June after we had moved. Let's Play Volume 4. This is by Leanne Kressick. This is a webtoon that I have absolutely been loving, and actually I think when I looked at this one, the end of this book is about where I had gotten to in the webtoon. I read a little bit past here, but I don't think if they do a volume 5, I've read through a whole volume 5. So this is one that I just love so, so much that I obviously had to have my hands on. I have read up through this volume, so none of this is going on my TBR for these. This is something that I've already read and just needed to have on my shelves. But basically we follow Sam, who is like a gamer. In the first book, she has created her own like RPG video game sort of situation, and we also have Marshall, who like reviews video games. Like he does like a YouTubing sort of thing where he does games, and they end up being next door neighbors. The thing is, he had previously reviewed her game and reviewed it very, very badly. That is sort of where we go from there. We also have Link, who is a friend, and Charles, who is like a co-worker at work. It is sort of love triangle-y in a sense, but not 100%. It is a little bit of romance, but I think it's more just a lot of like slice of life, relationships, friendships, that kind of thing. And I just personally absolutely love the storytelling in here. And so yeah, this is volume 4. I will be picking up every single volume. I need them on my shelves, and at least, like I said, this is not going on my TBR. Then, I guess we're getting into the one book. I guess it's just one. Yeah, I guess one book that I've actually purchased for myself physically since moving here, and that is going to be Heavenbreaker by Sarah Wolf. So I got this at Costco, so it is much cheaper than normal. It was $19.49, whereas I think the list price is $32.99. So again, a pretty good deal on a brand new hardcover book. It does have very cool, pretty edges. That was one of the reasons I picked it up. The other reason though is it's actually blurbed by chelsea.zhao, who is the author of Iron Widow, that I absolutely loved. I had never heard of this book before seeing it in Costco and picking it up. It is going to be an adult sci-fi sort of book. I have seen one review by a friend online that read this and hated it, but apparently they did go into it thinking it was a fantasy romance. And it's not fantasy, and it's not really romance. It is sci-fi. So I'm actually okay with that, because when I picked it up and was looking at it, I was under the impression, especially because of the author that blurbed it, that it is sci-fi. I do like romance in my stuff, but it's not, as far as I know, a sci-fi romance. It is sci-fi with maybe a little bit of romance, but 100% not fantasy romance, which is what they thought it was going to be. Here is under the dust jacket. Again, it is gorgeous. And here are the end papers. Again, this is just such a gorgeous edition. Do I remember what this is all about? Not really. The back says, "I cannot stop death, but I can make it think twice." But yeah, so fact, that is a gorgeous edition, not a bad price for a brand new hardcover, and the author that blurbed it on the front, that was the reason I picked it up, especially because I do love sci-fi. And it looks like there is some girl who is the daughter of the Duke, it looks like, who is like, it's a bastard daughter, so it wasn't somebody that was like supposed to be an heir in line for the throne. He thought she died along with her mother, and apparently she's going to be coming back and trying to take stuff over. There's like giant war machines and things. It's sci-fi. I really do want to try it out. And so that is all the hardcover physical books that I wanted to talk about today. However, like I did mention earlier, we did also then have the Stuff Your Kindle event, a couple of them during June, near the end-ish of June. So I did get a few things from that as well that I wanted to mention here, because I am trying to be very accountable with hauling and getting books. These are things that I got for free, except for, actually, I think there is one that I needed to mention before we continue. I also had picked up a book by Anita Sunday. This is an author that I've read a lot of her romances. She does male romance. And I really liked the Signs of Love series. Sagittarius Saves Libra. It's going to be like a mistaken identity twin situation. Like people think it's one twin, but it's actually the other twin. And then romance happens from there. I did purchase this because it was on sale for a new release on Amazon for 99 cents. So that's the only ebook, I obviously have the cover up here, that I wanted to mention before we get into the Stuff Your Kindle stuff, because everything else I got through Stuff Your Kindle for free. And this is going to be stuff that, like, obviously it'll be on my TBR. I'm definitely going to consider it when I'm looking for things to read. I got them because I was interested in them. I was intrigued by them. But it's not something that I spent money on, so I'm not going to feel bad DNFing or eventually unhauling if I don't get around to them. They're just not intriguing to me anymore. A lot of these are authors that I have semi-heard of, but maybe not tried things out from them. So it's a good way to try something and see if it's something you want to continue with. Read more from that author, that kind of thing. So the first one I have here is The Lost Princess by Joy Lewis. This one is apparently going to be like a sort of Sleeping Beauty style retelling. Something happens where she ends up turning into Sleeping Beauty, and there's a guy that gets hired, I think, to like go and assassinate her while she's still sleeping, but instead wakes her up, and then it's supposed to be like a fall in love type of story. I do think this one might be young adult versus adult, but I was intrigued by it. I'm always a little bit intrigued by fairy tale retellings. I also have here The Sons of Echidna by Athena M. Bliss. This one was billed as a meeting of Umbrella Academy and the series of unfortunate events, and I love both of those things, so I was very, very intrigued by it. This is going to be a debut novel, and I don't actually know much else about it. The cover is really, really gorgeous, so that is why I picked this one up. Then I also have Visions of Snapdragon by Jana Sun, and this is apparently about Jack, who is psychic and like can see sort of things coming before they happen, and she gets drawn into this like adventure with Diego. I don't know exactly what that means. It does say that Jack's dark visions could come to fruition, so I'm sure it's gonna be like she sees something and is like, can we save it or do we fall in love instead? Like I'm hoping for some high stakes in here, so yeah. Then we also have Shifting Forms for Clumsy Felines by Laura Greenwood. This is the first book in this series that I actually read a different one about elves around Christmas time. I gave that one 5 out of 5 stars because I just absolutely loved the characterization. It was like a short novella sort of thing, and it's all set in this like university style world. So this is the first book here. It's about different cat shifters, and I think they're cheerleaders or something as well. Like, it sounds a little bit ridiculous, but I really did like the elf one that I read, so I need to read this one. Then I also picked up Death Eternal by Richard Amos. I have never read a Richard Amos, even though I actually have picked up a few of them now through different sales and things like that. This one is the first book in the Necromancer Rising series. I do believe these are all male-male romance in some way from this author. It says, death is supposed to be the end, not in my world. The dead never move on, not since death walked off the job and disappeared. And because they're a necromancer, it's their job to police the spirits while they're stuck. And it is supposed to be a paranormal urban fantasy romance. It has a knitting necromancer, a delectable immortal being, plenty of sizzle, and rather disgusting liquid mushrooms. I don't know exactly what all that means, but again, I've been very intrigued by a lot of this author's work. Then I also picked up Talking with the Dead by Shiloh Walker. This is like a prequel, either novella or novel for the FBI psychics, which again, I don't know, something about the like psychic, paranormal, romancy type of thing got me this time. It says, surrounded by death, a man with a terrible gift reaches for life. And apparently it's about a guy who, after like a brush with death, can actually like sort of see the people that have been murdered and like is trying to help them out. As far as I know, there is a little bit of romance in here. I think this is more suspense with romance versus like romance with suspense, but I'm again very intrigued. Then I also picked up Something Wicked by Emma Dean. This is going to be like a university setting one. I'm not into young adult as much with like the high school setting. However, if you age the characters up and put them in a university setting, I'm still very intrigued by that. So apparently our main character is going to be a witch and is joining this sort of like paranormal fantasy type of school for these type of creatures. I don't know much else about it, at least on Goodreads. The summary is very, very short right now, but there was something about it that I wanted to read, so I did pick that one up as well. Then I also picked up Space for More by Emily Antoinette. This is the second book, I think they're in companion novel series, from Spire Station, and these are like sci-fi romances. I'm actually more intrigued by the first book in this series. However, the second book is the one that was on the Stuff Your Kindle sort of thing, and so I wanted to pick it up. This is going to be a poly situation. If you look at the front cover of this one, it definitely looks like 2 women, 1 guy. And it talks about them being on the galaxy's largest space station, and yeah, it's a, oh yeah, female, male, alien romance filled with seduction, subterfuge, and second chances. No love triangles here. All 3 will get there happily ever after. They are interconnected standalone alien romances. Like I said, the first one, Space for Love, is the one that intrigues me the most. I do have it on my want to read list as well, but we're gonna try out Space for More as well. Then I also have The Green Door by Heather Kint. This one I do think is another young adult. However, it has some sort of like game in it, like high stakes, life or death type of thing. I do also believe it has portal fantasy elements. I don't know much else about it. It does have like a middling rating on Goodreads, 3.69, but I was intrigued, so yeah. Then I picked up Disenchanted by Brianna Solgalski. I probably said that last name wrong, I'm so sorry. This one is being pitched as Princess Bride meets Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It also says it is for fans of Throne of Glass, but it is going to be more historical, which I'm not as much of a fan of, but I do love Princess Bride and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So it is about a woman who apparently has to try and like stop a curse on their town or something like that. It is going to be fantasy romance. I really do want to read this one. I also have The Dragon's Rose by Tati B. Alvarez. This is going to be a retelling of Briar Rose. It looks like Grim Hollow is the town name, and it seems like a lot of sort of like fantasy fairy tale-esque type of stuff. Ancient curses, dragon kind, like, yeah. I also picked up Legend of the Wildlings by Brittany Brewer. This one I do think is YA as well, but it has lots of mythical creatures and a magical school, and even though it is YA and the school is probably going to be some sort of high school, the fact that it does have those magical creatures and magical elements I am more drawn to, so we will see how this one goes. I also picked up the Wolven Mark by Megan Linsky. This is another university setting one, so again, fantasy, paranormal. Emma never believed magic was real until she used it to kill a werewolf. So again, then she's going to be going into this supernatural paranormal school. Things are going to happen from there. It says Court of Thorns and Roses meets The Witcher in a Fae Academy. So yeah. Then I picked up the Valkyrie Bestiary book 1 through 3. It was a collection. Let's go into the first one though. The first one is called Dragons Don't Eat Meat, which I think is adorable. Fans of Kate Daniels and stuff will like this, but it is going to be about a woman who is sort of like a pest controller in a fantasy type of setting, and she has like rescues in her apartment, including a basilisk who thinks he's a turkey, a banshee nanny, and a pygmy kraken. Like, I want all this sort of like cozy fantasy vibes, and it sounds like I might get it, so. And then the last one I picked up in the month of June was Winetaps and Whiskers by Emma Canaday. I am 100% sure I butchered that first name. I am so sorry. But this one was also intriguing because the entire book series that has books out so far has some sort of like cat situation. So like Wiretaps and Whiskers, that kind of thing. It is an urban fantasy, slow burn romance. Buffy meets the X-Files. Like, these are all things that are like checking things off my list. And cats, you know, like I definitely, and it actually, the last thing over here says and cats. Like, I need to read this one. So that was the last one I picked up during the Stuff Your Kindle situation. I will say we had like over 1,000 books in the actual like romance bookworm Stuff Your Kindle, plus other things that came out, like I did the fantasy one. I am noticing a lot more AI covers in books, especially these indie books that are doing these free book events. Not all of them are, but I saw quite a few like daggers and crowns where you can tell the symmetry is 100% off. And I know that there have been some very outspoken people, authors, illustrators, booktubers, things like that, that do not like AI. Same. I am very much going to be going over a lot of these covers with a fine-tooth comb. I might have missed some. If I did and you know for a fact something is AI, let me know. Like, I don't like that. I don't like the fact that the AI is trying to take over the artistic side of us. I love when we have actual people doing the illustrations for covers, or, you know, making those from scratch, that kind of thing. So that was something that I noticed. Not trying to get up on a soapbox here or anything, but I did see a lot more covers that are very obviously AI. There were some things that maybe that were harder to tell, but it is becoming quite a big problem, it seems like, in this community now. A lot of people putting AI covers on their indie romance books that it does make me question, did you use AI for anything else? Or do you just not think that people drawing covers and stuff for you is as worthwhile as you writing your own book? Like, I don't know. There's something that turns me off about those covers and things specifically, and I definitely noticed a lot more this time for Stuff Your Kindle than last time. And again, it could be the books that I was looking at and figuring out if something sounded good, because during Stuff Your Kindle, they only give you like keywords and some synopsis stuff. You don't get to see the cover right away, and I definitely do a lot of stuff visually, so I would look through, you know, the summaries and things, mostly keywords, and figure out, do I like any of the keywords and plot points that are being used, and then I'll go and look at the cover and, you know, ratings and things. And yeah, there's quite a few now that look obviously AI, so that was a little bit sad. But otherwise, I hope you guys enjoyed this ginormous book haul. But also, like I said, it's been about a couple months coming now, because I just haven't hauled anything in a while, and so a lot of this was stuff that I got for the move that I now need to figure out exactly where it is going to go on these shelves. So yeah, if you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up to let me know. Subscribe to this channel if you'd like to see more videos. I do have videos coming out Tuesdays, Thursdays, and sometimes Saturdays, so I will see you then. Bye!